Hello. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Okay, it's okay. All right. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Let's get started. Let me just mute this. Okay. All right. So, welcome everyone to the Git workshop. This is being provided by the CSCU in collaboration with the Developer Student Club at Ryerson. And for those who don't know, the Developer Student Club is a Google affiliated university-based like community group. It helps bring students who are interested in Google developer technologies together so that they can learn more about it. And some of these technologies may be things that you are familiar with. So if you know about Firebase or Google Cloud Platform or using, for example, Google Maps API, things like that, Flutter, TensorFlow, um, developer student clubs at various universities try to help bridge the gap in knowledge and teach these types of technologies to, or give students exposure to these kinds of technologies. So, where am I? Yeah, so like I said, my name is Wayne. I'm here to lead the session today and hopefully help you learn something new. I am a third-year student at Ryerson, and developer-related fact is that my favorite framework is React.js. Just a little logistical stuff. If you guys have any questions throughout this broadcast, just send them in the chat, and my friend Brandon, who is also moderating the stream, he'll relay them to me, or he might answer them himself.
You already know.
Yeah. So let's continue. All right, so yeah, let's get started. Let's talk about Git version management. So before I begin, we'll talk about what Git is and GitHub, so what the differences between those two are, the GitHub workflow, and how to use Git on the command line, which is an extremely necessary and important skill that I wish they taught you in first year, but they really don't. So in high school, when you worked on a class project, you might have used Google Docs to collaborate with a friend to work on a report or something like that. So when you get a job in the computer science industry as a software developer, software engineer, whatever it is, you will be working in a team with other people, and you will all have access to the same code. But the way all that code is organized is through something called version control. So we're all going to collaborate today on a very simple, easy project, and we're going to do so using version control. So Git is the version control system. It can be used with various tools, or it can be used locally on your computer. Like I said, there's a command line or a terminal interface to use it, and there's also a graphic user interface called GitHub Desktop. But I do not recommend you use that, and I'll go over that later. So yeah, like I said, it's a way for developers to collaborate, and it's kind of like Google Docs, but it's a lot better because you're using it to produce code or to produce a software project together. And GitHub is a platform for code collaboration. So it uses Git for version control. And when you get your first internship, or when you get your full-time position or whatever, you might be using GitHub, but you will most likely be using GitLab, which is just a more professional enterprise version of a more professional enterprise, like secure version of code hosting. And both these tools provide you with lots of types of collaboration. So version control is super important because imagine you and I are working on developing a website together, and we just keep emailing a file back and forth with our updates, that would get super, super tedious. And that would be, it'd be disastrous when it comes to fixing conflicts and things like that. So version control allows students or workers to merge, to work in parallel and merge their code together. So I can work on the homepage of a website and you can work on the about page or a game that might be hosted on the website or something. And we can work in parallel. So I don't have to wait for you to finish your code in order to work on mine. Oops. Yes. There you go. So GitHub provides lots of functions that allow you to do this. So really quick, we're going to go through. Can I get I get not a show of hands, but can you type in the chat if you already have a GitHub account? So hopefully you created your GitHub account prior to joining the broadcast.
It looks like most people have, yeah.
Okay, so I've been told that most of you have, which is really good. So we're going to be switching between the PowerPoint slide, and I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see my homepage? Oh, oops, that's not my homepage. This is my homepage. So this is basically what github.com will look like to you. This is what your homepage will look like once you've created your account. So you will have a feed. You'll have a feed here which will show you what the people you are following are working on. On your left, you might have your repositories, which are basically your projects that you have all your code in. And you'll have tabs at the top, such as pull requests, issues, marketplace, etc. For today, I think the most important thing is probably pull requests. And I'll go over what that is in specific later on. So pull requests are where you basically compare your code and you request to merge your code with the final copy of the code that is on GitHub. The second tab, issues, over here. Issues are where you can see any problems that have been reported in your repository with your project. And it's a good way to share problems about someone else's code without necessarily tinkering with the code itself. And on the right-hand corner, you can see notifications. This is where you can do things like create a new repository, import a new repository, and play with things like gists, organizations, and projects. Are there any questions so far?
You're just gonna have to give the stream a little bit of time just because there's a slight delay, like 2-3 seconds, so.
Okay.
I think
So
I don't think there's any questions though.
Doesn't seem like there are any questions. So let's hop into what a repository is. So like I mentioned,
Hold on, wait.
this is the
Wait, just 1 second. We have a question.
sounds like I have a
A
question.
user
Yeah.
asked, "I have Git download already, but I just like to ask if it's mandatory in order to use GitHub."
So you don't necessarily need to have Git installed. I guess you could technically use it from the website. Oh, sorry, Brandon, you're muted, right? So
Yeah.
I'll just repeat the question out loud. So say it again.
So the question is, by the way, they can hear me say it.
Oh, they can hear you? Okay, never
Yeah.
mind then.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so you don't need to have Git installed. You can technically still use it from the website, but using it from your command line that you installed it on is significantly more powerful when it comes to version control. And when I go into specific commands that you'll be using, you'll understand why. So yeah, so for those of you who can see it, this is the repository or project that we'll be collaborating on. It looks very, very simple because I wanted to make it really easy to understand. So when you have a project, whether it is a school project, it is a personal website, it could be a game you're working on, your repository page will look something like this. You'll have a tab for code. And here you'll see all the code that is in your project. Think of a repository like a directory. It's like your project folder. So it'll contain all the files that are related for that project, and subfolders and things like that. Issues, like I mentioned, let's say you found an issue or a problem with my project, I would be able to go to this tab and create a new issue. You have things like security, insights, etc. And in settings, here is where I can specifically add someone like a collaborator, or I could manage my options and branches and things like that. So where is it? So we went over what a code tab is, went over issues. So the third tab is pull requests. So if you want to contribute code to someone else's repository, you would open a pull request. So this repository belongs to me, right? You can see it's under my profile. But let's say Brandon wanted to add code to my repository. He would create a pull request. And let's say he wrote some code. That's where he would go to in order to request to pull his changes into my repository. Does that part make sense to everyone?
We're getting some yeses.
Cool, sounds good.
If
Yeah.
anyone has like any questions, please do ask, because we don't want to go ahead and go over parts where people get lost and then like you're just gonna fall behind. So please do ask questions if you do have any.
Yep. All right, so the next part of our agenda is terminology associated with Git and GitHub. So what I want to hopefully deliver to you in this first half is the best practices or best conventions for a developer's workflow. So when you're working, hopefully you follow something like related to the process that I'll talk about right now. So firstly, the first term that you're going to go over is forking. So is fork. So you'll be forking someone else's repository, which means making a copy of their repository and then having it show up under your profile. So let's try to do that. Hopefully you have this link open. Brandon, can you send the link to my repository in chat?
Yep, just give me 1 second here.
Awesome. So go on to this repository, and then in the top right, can everyone try to click on fork? You will be forking my repository, which means you will be getting a copy of this project under your own profile.
Maybe give them like a minute or so
Yeah,
to just get
yeah,
it.
I'll give you about a minute.
Time for him to check his phone.
All right, I think it'll be best if I go through all these key terms first before we put it into practice. And then when we put it into practice, I'll go over them again so that you guys have a second to go through it. So yeah, the first thing you do is you fork someone else's code. You create your own copy of it. And then the next thing you do is you create something called a branch. And a branch on GitHub is a parallel version of your copy. So branches are what you do. Here, I think it's best if I just show you. So over here, do you see my screen? Do you see this word master here? So the master branch is your final, like your main copy of your code. It's your final copy. It's the one that if you have a website, the website would be hosted off this master branch. It's your main final, your pristine copy. Hopefully there should be no bugs or errors or typos or anything in the master branch of your code. Okay. And right now it says that there's just one branch, it's just master, but let's say I wanted to, you guys probably noticed that there's one file. There's a README, which might tell you a little bit about the project, but there's also an index.html file. And that is, for those of you who have coded in HTML, it's just it's your main HTML file that gets served when you visit a website. So let's say I wanted to add something to my website. I will say, I'll probably repeat this multiple times, but whether you're working on your own project or whether you're working on a big tool at work or at your internship, it is extremely important that you do not code on your master branch. So you don't want to be editing this final pristine copy of your code. What you want to do is you will create a branch, so a copy of it, and you would make your changes. So let's say I add a new title, for example, or I change the background color of my website from blue to red. So I make these changes on a different branch, and then I would do something called staging. So when I stage my changes, that means I'm satisfied with them, and I add these changes or revisions. I tell Git to keep track of these stages or revisions, of these updates and revisions. So what I would do first is create a new branch, right? And let's say I call this branch, the final copy is called master, right? Let's say I create a new branch and I'm going to call my branch, I don't know, let's say background change, right? So now I'm not on the master branch anymore. It's not the final copy. I'm on a branch called background change. And now that I'm on here, I start coding and I say, hey, change the color to red. And then I stage it. So by staging, and I'll tell you how to do that later, you're telling Git, hey, keep track of this change. I changed it from blue to red. Keep track of that. And when you're super satisfied with that change, you'll do something called commit. You commit your change and your, I guess it's like, this is a really bad analogy, but I guess it's like you have different changes. So let's say you are talking to different people, and when you commit, you're like ready to start dating someone. That's a terrible example, but you're committing and you're basically sticking to your one change. Let's say you changed it from red to blue to green. You might be staging all of those, but you might be telling Git to keep track of all of them. But committing is when you say, hey, this is the one I want, okay? And after, I'm not giving dating advice, but once you commit your changes, that's when you would merge it, okay? So it starts with forking, you get a copy, you create a branch because remember, you are not coding on your master branch. You make your changes and then you stage them. Staging is telling Git, hey, keep track of this. So if you don't stage your changes, you can't commit them, okay? Because Git will not be keeping track of the files that you're changing. So you're staging your changes, and then you're committing them. You're saying, hey, I want to finalize that my background color is red, for example, or I want my button to be a circle instead of a square, for example. So once you stage your changes, you commit them, and then you would merge your branch into master. Okay. So let's try this using GitHub. So I think I went over this a little earlier. So for those of you who have a GitHub account, go to the link that Brandon sent and click on the fork button in the top right. So now you will receive a copy of this repository, DSC Git demo, and it will appear under your own profile. So fork the repository. And next, what I want you to do is create a branch. So your screen might not say Wayne because that's me, but click on that dropdown and create a branch. So in that text box that appears, call it anything. You can call it, I don't know, first change. Call your branch first change if you'd like. Or call it, what did I write here? Add styles, for example. It doesn't matter, right? But generally, you would want your branch to be descriptive of the change that you are about to make. So if I am creating, let's say, a biography page about, I don't know, Elon Musk, and I am adding a new page, a new like route on the page to talk about Tesla, for example, then I would call my branch add Tesla page. Or yeah, so your branch name is generally descriptive of what you're about to do. So hopefully everyone has created a branch now. And then now when you click on your dropdown, so in my repo, let's say I call it first branch, okay? Oops. First, not fire, first branch. Wow, I can't type. Okay, and then click create branch. Okay, and now I am on this branch called first branch, right, within my own repo, and that could be, yours could have whatever you named it. And next, what we're going to do is open the index.html file. So click on index.html within your forked repo, and you'll see a page that looks like this. You'll see what the page looks like. So it's a super short, super simple HTML file, right? It just has a head, a body, and a title, and a couple of header elements, H1, H2. Okay, so now what I want you to do, you'll see that these sentences are incomplete. You see this was made by. I want you to write your name. Oh, first click on edit this file. So click on the little pen icon in the right. So edit this file, okay? And now make your changes, right? This was made by, and then write your first name, last name, whatever. My favorite programming language, drop in, tell me what it is. If you want, you could even do more. You could do things like put in an H3, H4. If you want to put in an image tag, do whatever. So you're just making changes, right? And let's say I'm going to just do the basics. I'll say this was made by Wayne. My favorite language is, I don't know, JavaScript. Because React. Whatever. Okay. So I've made my changes, right? Remember that this is your side branch, right? This is for me, it's called first branch. Because these changes you're making, since they're going to be pushed to master, you want to push your changes. You want your master branch to have clean, pristine code, right? So make sure your tabbing, your indentation is good. You don't have any spelling mistakes, whatever. If you're not working in a scripting language, if you're using Java or whatever, make sure there's no compiler errors, things like that. Okay, and now I want you to scroll down, and here is where you commit your changes, okay? So you made your changes. Git is keeping track of it on the website right here. So I guess we kind of skipped the stage part, but now is where we commit our changes. So in this first text box, I want you to write a descriptive message that tells me what this change is. So for me, I'm going to write, this was made by Wayne. I'll say filled out or finished sentences. Finished sentences. Okay. And then click on commit changes and make sure you are committing to the branch that you named. Okay. So click on commit. Okay. So now within first branch, you can see the latest commit, and there'll be a commit hash here. You will see that I created a change, and my commit message is right here, finished sentences. And then you can see what the change is. So what Git has done is now first branch has a newer version. Remember we talked about version control? It has a newer version of this repository, of my project. And in this version, with this commit hash and this sentence that describes the change, this version has the most updated. This is like the most updated version right now. It may not be on master branch, but right now Git is keeping track of the changes in this way. It's saying that Wayne made a commit right now or a minute ago to the DSC Git demo repository, and he saved these changes or he committed these changes using this commit message. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? Let me know if I'm going too fast. Let me know if you want me to go over any of the steps.
Okay, so you have a question here. When I create a branch on GitHub, does it become just a local branch or remote?
Okay, so when you create a branch on GitHub on the website, it becomes a remote branch. So creating it here on the website means that it's not just local to your computer because we haven't touched the command line at all. I'll go over what a local branch and a remote branch are, but for now, just think of any branch that you create using that little dropdown is a remote branch. It exists on the GitHub server. If I close my website, or if I close Google Chrome, whatever, and I open it back up, it'll still be there. It's remote. It's now being hosted on GitHub servers.
Someone's asking, what's the difference between local and remote?
Yeah, so local branches are that'll be the second half of the broadcast where because right now we're talking about using GitHub on the website. Later on, we'll be using it on command line, and I'll show you the difference at that time. But basically, local branches mean that a branch you create only exists on your computer. It does not exist on github.com. So if I create a branch locally, which I'll show you how to do that later, it only exists on my laptop. If you try to go on the website, you will not find it unless I push it up.
Another question. Would there be some sort of permission access usually to prevent people from making tons of remote branches?
Yeah, so the reason that you guys had to fork my repository and not just edit it directly is because right now the only collaborator for this repository specifically is me. The only way you can make changes to it is by forking and then creating the change you just made and then asking me via pull request to merge your change into mine. So it's basically like it's like me writing a novel or a book, and now you taking a copy of my book, adding a new chapter. But if you've just taken a copy of mine, that doesn't change the original, right? It still belongs to me, kind of thing. And I would only add your new chapter once you make this pull request and say, hey, merge my changes into your main copy.
That was a pretty
So
pog analogy, bro. Did you just come up with that?
yeah, I just came up with that. Yeah. So what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, right. So regarding collaborators, let's say you have I'm assuming a lot of you are first year, second year. Let's say you have a group project in CPS 109 or 209, and you are working in partners or in groups of three. I think it would be a little annoying, right, if it was just one person managing the repository. So when you want to say, hey, this is my, I don't know, CPS 305 project, or this is my whatever project. First of all, be careful with that. Don't put your projects on GitHub. I should give you that disclaimer. But the way that you would add people, so right now it's just me, right? It's just Wayne as the sole collaborator for this repo. But let's say I wanted to add Brendan, and Brendan, I'm going to put your GitHub on blast right now. I would go to settings
Come on,
and
bruh. I don't got anything on there. I gotta do this thing.
it's collaborators.
Side.
Am I blind? Oh yeah, manage access. There you go. So
Oh.
don't worry, it's all
Yeah,
thing.
it's fine. We're good.
Okay,
Also,
so now,
just side note, you guys can put your projects on GitHub. Just make sure it's a private repository so that the public can't see it.
yeah, so when I made this, the reason you guys were able to visit my URL and see it is because I set it as public. If I were to click on manage and then change that to change visibility to private, only I would be able to see it, and now you guys would not have access to it anymore. But yeah, let's go back to manage access. So right now you haven't invited any collaborators, right? So it's only Wayne working on this repo. For these school projects or when you're at work, for example, what's a good example? Uh, let's say you're working at Facebook and you're working on Facebook Messenger, right? The little pop-up chat application. Uh, Obviously, if you have different products and different tools, you're not going to have access to all of them, right? You're going to only have access to what you're working on. That's what it was like when I was working at my internship. I had access to the projects and repositories that I was directly working on and not anything else. So you would want to invite people who are only going to work on that. So let's say uh, I only wanted me and Brandon and I to contribute to this repo. I would click on invite a collaborator, search up his username. I think it's Brandon. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, there he is. So I would click that, and then I would click add Brandon to this repo. Okay, but I'll just keep this for myself for now. And that's how you can manage your access. So if you want to work on your own personal website, but remember how I showed you the homepage? The homepage will tell you, hey, this person is following this repository. Oh, wow, look at that. Cool. So yeah, it'll tell you this person forked, or um, okay, I probably won't see anything else, but it'll say maybe Wayne Farrow created a new repository called personal website. But let's say you're creating your own personal website, but for example, you're not comfortable with having it public. Maybe you're a beginner at web development and you don't want people to know that you don't know how to center a title, for example, you would create it as private and then I wouldn't see it here. So whether it's a personal project, whether it's public, for school stuff, definitely make it private. But yeah, I think that I went on for too long, but I hope that answered the question about user access. So you said, can anyone just make 100 branches on my own personal thing? No, they cannot, unless I have invited them as a collaborator. I think I see a question. In my country, employers are asking for GitHub to see projects, to see how you do. How do you show your work here? So I guess the best way to do that is either put a link to your GitHub. So for me, let's say you click here to go to your profile. Oh God, you guys are gonna see my stuff. Okay, so it's here. You would basically just put this link or just your username, which is, for me, it's just first name dot last name. Oh yeah, I actually never went over this. So here on GitHub, you also have this cool little tracker at the bottom, which shows you what your contributions are. And the way GitHub tracks your contributions is it will say, it'll have a little green square. Each square represents a day, by the way, if that wasn't evident. So it'll put a little green square for each day that you have committed and pushed a change. So you can see a little green square right here, one contribution on September 25th. That was the one that I just made where I wrote my name. So because I now pushed a change, I created a new commit. I got a little light green square. The more commits you do on a day, I think I had a hackathon on this day. I have, 29 commits, 29 contributions on December 18th. So the more commits you have, the darker the green square. And I guess this is kind of a good metric for how active a developer is. You can see here from April to July-ish, I didn't really do anything. I wasn't really working on any personal projects at that time. I was just at work. Yeah.
So you have another question here. After
Yeah,
this, we should probably move on though. But are you
yeah,
able to
for
fork
sure.
something privately?
I don't believe you are because since this repository is public, I think I will get a notification. Oh, not that. I will get a notification, or I'll see on my homepage that user X, even if I'm not following you, it'll say um, that user A, B, or C forked my repo because it pertains to me. Yeah. And I don't think forking a repository in general is bad. It just means that other people are interested in your project and they want to play around with it.
Okay, let's move on before we get stuck in
I think
too
someone
many
said you can
questions.
duplicate and set it as private. So yeah, I guess that's an option.
All right,
Yeah.
let's just move on.
Okay. So yeah, we went through editing. We added the name, blah, blah, blah. We updated, we committed. Um, okay, so now what I want you guys to do is the pull request part. So where is it? So on your forked copy of my repository, I want you to click on pull request. So try to, where is it? Oops, my bad. Um, click on pull request. And I hope you also have a similar little pop-up like this that says the branch that you made a commit to was recently pushed. So I want you to click on compare and pull request. And yours will look a little different than mine. But basically what I want you to do is push your branch and try to see if you can change the base branch, which is the branch that you will be updating. Try to see if you can make it so that it should say Wayne DSC Git demo. And for those who see that, can you confirm in the chat that you can push your branch into mine? Yeah, so basically make that request and I'll probably get notification soon. Yeah, so I think I have one here. Yeah, so here I have the first couple people who they're trying to push their changes into my repository. And that's basically how you do pull requests. So I remember when I was an intern, my boss would say, hey, we're trying to build this feature. Wayne, go ahead and build it. So I would do that. I wouldn't fork a copy because I was a collaborator, but I would create a branch. I would make my changes and I'd um, put a detailed commit message like finished building, I don't know, finished updating the homepage so it looks nicer, whatever. And then there would be a pull request. Oh my gosh, I'm getting a lot of emails because of these pull requests. So my team would take a look. So for example, I'm just going to refresh. Yeah, there you go. Wow, 17. Jeez. Okay, so let's say I'm just going to pick on someone. I hope you don't feel bad. So let's look at this one, NEY54. So now I am viewing this developer's pull request. Okay. And on this page, I can take a look at what their changes were. Where is that? This person make a change? Oh, files changed here. Files changed. So this person changed, and the changes they made, they put their first name as Annie, and they put their favorite programming language as Python. Okay, and this person says that they're going to try to merge their commit into my master branch, my main branch. So now, if I click on where was it? If I'm okay with that, then I would click merge pull request, and now the main final copy of this will be will have her details on it. So I want you guys to really be familiar with this process because you should be able to review each other's like pull requests or merge requests. Okay. I don't think you, or maybe you can, if you go to my page, you can probably see all these pull requests, but you guys should really get familiar with, let's look at another one. I'm sure they're all the same, but sure, finished incomplete sentences, Alex. Let's open another one. And if I look at files changed, yeah, so Alex, he likes Java. Yeah. So that's basically the gist of pull requests. Someone asked like, what prevents like an outsider from just tampering with your code base? Well, because this repository is mine and not yours, if you want to make any changes, you would have to do it like this. And then since I'm the owner, I would approve or deny. Or let's say, okay, I'll do one last example and then I'll stop. So let's look at, I don't know.
You should also mention about reviewers, because you can request reviewers.
Right. So Brandon brought up a good point that there can be reviewers for a pull request. So when you're working on a big tool or a big product at a company, you don't want just one person to be able to merge it immediately. You can have settings so that a pull request cannot be merged until it has been reviewed and approved by X amount of people. Maybe you can specify that by saying the senior dev has to review this, and once they get approval, then it can be merged, or this branch can only be merged if there are at least 3 approvals or 3 reviewers. Okay, who approve it? Okay, and let's say I look at this file, and let's say I don't like that this user put Python in lowercase. I honestly don't mind, but I would do something like review changes, and I would say, hold on. Yeah, I can add a comment on line 12, right? So I can make specific code changes or comments. So I would say, hey, oops, I can't type either. Capitalize the P. And I would add a comment or I can start a review. And then that person can either fix their change and make the commit with a capital P and then push it up again. And in that case, I would, so let's say I start a review. And in that case, once it's been fixed, then this review can be finished, right? I'd submit the review. Like I'm done reviewing everything. Okay, and okay, sorry, my bad. Once I finish review, I click submit review, and now let's say they update this, and it's been capitalized. I can just resolve it, and it's done. Okay.
By the way,
I can
the owner of the actual repo, or whoever's reviewing it, will see an indication saying that the code is outdated. You'll have a little tag at the top of it of the comments saying outdated, meaning that line of text or that area has been modified since the last time it's been viewed.
Exactly. So let's say I merged this user's code. Now my master branch is newer than the copy that you forked. So you would have to update your own copy so that it now reflects the most recent master branch. Right? Because the master branch that you have was the one that had an empty space after my name is. But let's say I merge this user, NL, blah, blah, blah. That user's name would now show up, and now that master branch is different. So you'd have to update your own so it reflects the most current one. Any questions?
Another side note, if someone requests changes or doesn't approve the pull request, and they decline it for whatever reason or request for changes, after you do all your changes, you must request another review from them in order for them to get a notification again.
Yeah, that is correct. 725. Okay. Should we take a 3 to 5 minute break, or should we just push through this and just finish at 8 real quick?
Do you guys
What do you
want a
guys think?
break, or do you guys want to just keep going?
Break? Okay. Break, no good. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, looks like we should keep going. So next we're gonna learn how to use GitHub or how to use GitHub or Git from the command line. And I cannot stress enough how super, super important this is. I mentioned earlier how you can use Git in multiple ways. There's a desktop version, GitHub desktop, where it not videos. Oops. Sorry, that took so long. So you might have a GUI where it might look like a nice little program where you have buttons and things you click instead of writing code, but I can assure you that using GitHub from the CLI, so using it from, I might have to share my screen again, but using it from your command line is significantly more powerful and will allow you much, much greater control over your repository and your branches and things like that. Okay. So once you start working on projects that are more complex, you might have a repository with 5, 6, 10 different branches. You might have a master branch and a development branch where your development branch might be changes that you've made and you think they're good, but you're still kind of trying to test them, right? So in order to have a strong, precise control over all these changes, I strongly recommend taking the time to learn and master using GitHub from the command line. So hopefully you guys have this all installed on your computer, whether you have a Mac or a PC. If you don't, Brandon, can you send the link in chat so that for those who don't have it, that they can install, Git.
Yep, just give me 1 second.
Cool.
Okay, the link is in chat. Someone asked, do you do it in Bash or command prompt?
I'm assuming you have a Windows PC. Do it in Bash.
Someone also asks, is there a storage limit on GitHub?
Is there?
I
There.
think for public repositories there isn't, but for a regular account there is a limit for private repositories.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, GitHub is maximum 1. Okay, so
About 1 GB, yeah.
for actual size, I guess. But
Yeah.
as a student, you can sign up for a student account, and it basically gives you a pro status, and you kind of
Yeah.
avoid all these restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, you will almost never face these issues. Only time is when you're working at a co-op or at a job, but by then they'll have enterprise accounts for you.
Yep. Yeah, so if you don't have installed, go to the website and install it. You can use your Ryerson email. I actually know, I think you should be using your Ryerson email when signing up for the GitHub student thing account. Okay, so I'm gonna assume that you guys have Git installed correctly. So let's move on. So to verify, and Brendan, I'm just going to stop sharing because I think right now it's just on this one window. I'll share my top screen so that
Yeah, so just change the present
Yeah.
now option to your entire screen, I guess.
Yep.
It'll auto update. By the way, for the GitHub like student thing, as Cindy mentioned in the chat, you get a bunch of developer tools. So it's stuff like credits for stuff like DigitalOcean. You get like free tools from stuff like IntelliJ. So do sign up. You get a bunch of free stuff, which is really nice for development.
Okay.
Wait, you good to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, so when you open up your terminal or PowerShell, I customized mine so that it has this color, but it should look fairly similar. So I want you to type in this command here. So git dash dash version.
Can you maybe change the color if possible? It's a little hard to read on screen, or it might be a little hard for some people to see.
Uh,
Can you guys see it just fine?
can you guys see my terminal?
Like, can you guys see the font or?
Hold on.
Some people are having a little bit of hard time seeing it. It seems like. Okay, yeah, you can just make it bigger, I guess.
Yeah,
But
how's that?
is there an option for you to change the color, maybe?
I'd have to go into my settings and it might take a while.
Okay.
I like it will take a while.
Yeah, just make
Uh,
the font as big as possible so people can see.
yeah, so make sure you can put in this command git dash dash version to see your um, to see the version of Git that you have installed. And if you don't get a response from this, then you need to install it, or you might have done something wrong. Okay, so if you see this output, you're good to go. You have Git installed. Okay, so now that you have it installed, let's connect it to your local environment. Let's connect your local computer to GitHub. Okay, so uh, on your Git account, you will see your username. It'll tell you who you're signed in as. Uh, go back to your command line, and now you need to connect it to this account. So I want you guys to follow here. Let me move this out of the way and make this smaller. So I've already done this, but you guys need to configure your account on your laptop with your GitHub account. So copy these two commands. So git config dash dash global space user.name, and then in quotes, put in whatever your username is. So what I would do is, for myself, if I haven't done this before, I do git config dash dash global user.name space quote, and then I would put for me my name here, first name, last name. Okay. And then git config dash dash global user.email, and then put in your email. So you're telling Git on your machine, hey, connect to my account. So whenever I pull or push code, it shows up as my account, my user.
Let's just give them like a minute just to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's having any difficulties, please say in the chat so that either Wayne or I could help you. Someone asked, do you do this on Git Bash or PowerShell?
I believe you do it on PowerShell.
I mean, you can do it on Git Bash too.
Either's fine, yeah.
Yeah. How do we know if it verified?
Oh, so if it verified that you added it correctly, I believe, whoops, give me a sec. Oh, okay, so to verify, let me bring this back. So to check that you got it right, type in git config and then user.name. And then git config user.email. And then you should see your name and email show up like that. So if you've configured it correctly, Git should tell you, hey, the username and email you configured are these. And once you've done that, you know that you've connected your account. So you're in a very good stage. Yeah, so git space configs, oops, git space config space user.email and user.name. Looks like a couple people have got it, which is really good to see. Can I unconnect my account after? Yes, you can. I believe git config. I haven't had to do this in a very long time. Unset your username. Yeah, so because you've configured your username and email globally, to remove it, yeah, just git config, where is it? -- global, and then unset, I believe. Oh, here, unset user.name, unset user.email. And if you wanted to change it, run the same command, I believe. Git config -- global user.name, and then it should overwrite.
I'm going to post in chat a Git cheat sheet, so you guys can just download that, and it has all like the basic commands that you'll be using.
Yeah, that cheat sheet will really come in handy for the first little bit where you're unfamiliar with it. So yeah, use these two commands to double check that you've set it up, and let's move on. So now that you've got it configured, let's get to the good stuff. So the first command that I'll be teaching you is cloning. So what we did before on GitHub is forking, and when you're working locally on your terminal like this, you'll be cloning a repository, right? You'll be getting a copy of it. So the workflow is basically the same. You get a copy, you create a branch. After you create a branch, you make your changes, and then you use commands to stage your changes. You commit them, and then you push them locally to up to GitHub. Okay, so the order is you clone it, so now you have it, and then create your branch, because remember, you don't work on master, you work on other branches that you then merge into master. After you make your changes, you'll use git add to stage them. And don't worry, we'll go through all these commands one by one together. You use git commit to commit your messages, also commit your changes. And when you're ready, you can push them. Okay? And then you can make a pull request, because once you push them, you'll see it on the website as usual. Okay? And oh yeah, the last thing is you can push and you can pull. Okay? So git push, git pull are going to be your best friends when you're working with version control. Okay, so I know I went through that really quick, but as with all development, I think you guys will learn the fastest by doing. So yeah, so I'll just take you through this together. So with everyone, whoops, that's not it. What am I doing here? I want you guys to go to the repository that you forked, okay? So this is the original, so yours looks a little bit different, but go to the repository that you forked, and I want you to click on this little green button here that says code. Okay, so click on code. And now you will see this URL here. Oops. You'll see this URL. And I want you to click on the clipboard little button here and copy this URL. So this URL will point specifically to this repository, okay? And this will tell your computer to copy all the code in this repo specifically from here, okay? And you can also download it as a zip file, but I highly doubt you'll be doing that because remember, we don't want to be like, we don't want to just have files that we're passing back and forth. We want to be able to use version control. So click on copy, and now go back to your terminal, okay? And I want you guys to, I don't know, go to your documents or whatever, and then I want you guys to type git, git clone, and then I want you to paste what you just copied. Okay, so git clone, and then you should see the URL. Okay, so my URL is like for my repository, but yours should be the forked repo that you have on your account. Okay, so git clone, and then press enter. Okay, and then you should see some feedback like this where it says that it is cloning into DSC git demo. Okay, so when you do git clone, it will create a folder with the name of this repository. So my repository is called the DSC git demo. It's going to create that folder. If I use ls, which will show all the files and folders or whatever in this folder within documents, in this directory. That's the word I was looking for. You can see it right there at the bottom, DSC git demo. So cd into DSC git demo. Okay, so change your directory into DSC git demo and press enter. And yours might not look the same as mine, but you should see that you've changed into your directory. So if you press ls again, you should see the two files, the readme and the index.html.
Can everyone get that working? Anyone having any issues?
So you're cloning it, and you're changing directory into this folder that you've now found, that you've now created, and just ls to see these files. And once you've got that working, just confirm so in the chat.
ls does not work for somebody.
Oh, it's probably because you're on. It's probably because you're on Windows.
Well, on Windows you also use ls, so I don't know.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why does that not work?
Yeah, I don't know. I use ls. Oh, it might be command prompt. Command prompt has something else, I think. Oh, you just type out dir.
Oh yeah, type in dir to display it.
So if you type out dir, it'll list out all files within the directory.
Cool. So the first part of the clone is git clone. Don't enter this again. I'm just typing it out for the person who asked. So git clone, and then you paste the URL. And it's not this URL. It's not the one in your website. It's the one under the code button. So make sure you have HTTPS, and then click on copy here. The only difference is that this URL ends with, if you notice, it ends with .git. Yeah. Okay, so you have cloned your repository. It's now on your computer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to basically do what we did before. We're going to make a change, commit it, etc. So I want you to open this folder, DSC git demo, because now it exists as a folder on your computer, right? Open this folder or open index.html in any code editor that you have. You could have Visual Studio, Atom, Sublime Text, whatever it is. Open this file in that code editor. Okay. So I have a shortcut, so I'll open it in VS Code.
Someone asked, how does one delete a Git file after you cloned it, or like delete a Git repository, I guess.
Uh, to delete it, I guess um, you would cd and then put dot dot, which means go one level higher, right? So now I'm back in the documents folder, right? So that it's parent folder. And then I guess I would do rm-rf and then the name of the folder. So DSC git demo.
Or if
And
you're
rm,
lazy, just right click and delete it.
yeah, just right click and delete it. Yeah. So you could do this or just open like your Finder.
Someone said they just cloned it and they want to know, what do I prompt CMD to do now?
Okay, so now that you've cloned it, just open it up in here. So documents, DSC git demo. So now that I have my folder, just open it up in whatever code editor you have. So for me, I have Visual Studio Code, but for you, it could be something else. Like if I right click this, open with whatever it is. The only one I use is Visual Studio, so this is the one I would open. But if you have Atom, Sublime Text, Notepad++, whatever it is, open
Yeah,
it in there.
those are just text editors that Wayne listed. You can also use whatever IDE you have for the particular language. So if you have like a Java, like if you're writing Java code, you could open it up in like IntelliJ or Eclipse or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of these IDs do have Git integration in it, so it will have like options, like little buttons for you to commit and stuff like that.
Okay, so now that you've opened it up here, right? So here's my code. It's in my code editor. I'm going to make a change. Okay, so I'm going to say, hey, it's Wayne, my favorite programming language. Oops, sorry. Can anyone tell me what I'm doing wrong right now? What did I forget to do? What should I be doing before I make these changes?
I should really have some Jeopardy music for these situations. We'll all just
Yeah,
sit here in silence. Someone said branch.
yeah, branch. So uh, right now, the way I've configured my terminal shows me what branch I'm on. But if you don't know what branch you're on, type in git branch, and you'll see something that looks like this. And the star will tell you which branch you're currently on. So I'm currently on master. And because master is the only branch I see right now, um,
You should probably make another
those are,
branch.
yeah, I should make another branch.
It's just good
So
practice.
yeah, so in order to make another branch, this is what you're typing. You're typing git checkout. Oops. So git checkout. Okay. Checkout means switch to another branch. But the way you specify creating a new branch is you pass in this -b tag. So git checkout -b will create a new branch. And I will now put in whatever name I want. So I don't know, update dash page. Okay, so git checkout -b, and I'm going to name my new branch update dash page. Okay, so it says switch to a new branch, update page, and it's okay if you guys don't have that part. Just type in git branch again, and then you'll see there's two branches now, master and update page, and the star shows you which one you're currently on.
What if they want to switch between branches?
If you want to switch between branches and you want to go from update page back to master, you would just do git checkout, but now you don't need to pass in your -b because master already exists. So just do git checkout name. Okay, so now I'm back to master. And I believe when you first clone a repository, it will only give you, actually, no, we'll go over that later. Yeah, so git checkout master will switch to master branch. And if I want to switch back to my update page, I would just do git checkout update dash page. And now I'm back. Okay.
Someone got an
So
error. Error switch B requires a value.
switch B.
Did you enter a name in afterwards?
Yeah, so when you do git checkout dash B, make sure you put a space and then name your new branch. Switch B requires a value. Oh, you probably have a special character. So try not to use a special character like a hash. So don't say, try not to put the number sign in your name. Just have, you can have letters and numbers, but I don't think you can have special characters. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, so now I'm on a new branch, right? I'm no longer on master. I can go back to my code editor and I can finish this. Hi, this was made by Wayne. My favorite programming language is, let's switch it up. Let's go Java. And now I will save, okay? So remember what I said? You clone it, create your branch, make your changes, and then you use git add to stage. So another command that you should get super familiar with is git status. So I want you guys, after you make your change, or before or anytime, type in and enter git status. Okay, and this will show you all the branches all the files that have been changed. So whether a new file has been created, whether a file has been modified, you'll see all of this here. Let me go ahead and do that as well. I'm gonna create a new file, and I'm gonna call it index.css. Okay, so I'm gonna create a new CSS file. I'll just leave it empty for now, and I'll save it. So now when I come back and I type in git status, I will see I have a new file called index.css, and I have a modified file, index.html. So git status will tell you what has been changed. If you want to know specifically what the changes are, you can type git space diff. So git diff. Okay, and git diff will show you what the difference is. So you might recognize this notation from before, where you have red representing lines that were deleted and green representing what was added. That's the same notation you'd see on the website, and what you see here. Okay, and then to get out of this, I just press enter. Oh, sorry, I can press Q, I think. Yeah, Q. Git diff might not have showed anything for you if you did not save your file. So make your change, save your file, and then do git diff. Okay, so let's say I go back to index.html and I Command Z, I just undo my changes and I save. If I do git diff now, I don't see any changes, right? And if I go back and I say Java again, but I do not save git diff, I still don't see any changes. Yeah. Okay, so there's git diff. If you want to know the difference of just one file, just do git diff and then index.html. So it'll show you only the differences on that file. If not, it'll show you all the differences on all your files. Oops, I didn't save again. Java, Wayne, save. Okay, so git diff index.html, and now it shows my changes. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is stage our changes. Okay, and we do that using this command here, git add. So I have my changes here, right? Get out of there. Just make some space. And Git status, I can see that I have these. And now I want to add these files and stage them. I want to say, hey, Git, I want you to keep track of these files that are changed. Okay, so I'll do git add index.html. Okay, so I want you to add this to what you're keeping track of. Okay, and now you'll see that it's been added, and I'll do it for the second file as well, index.css. Okay, and you might not have this little yellow thing for you. So in order to check whether you've successfully added it, type in git status again. Okay, and now you'll see changes to be committed. They've been staged, and now you're trying to commit them, right? Remember, you're trying to stick to one person or whatever. You're staging your changes. You're done. So it no longer says changes not staged. Now it says changes to be committed because you've staged them by adding them. Okay. I'm just gonna take a quick pause to see if anyone has any questions.
Do you have like a rough timeline of how much longer? Because some people were asking how long this
I'll
would
try
take.
to I'll wrap it up. I'll wrap it up in the next 10, 15.
Okay.
Okay, so git status will say that these changes are to be committed. And now after I have staged them using git add, the next step is to use git commit. Okay, so git commit, and now you need to put in a commit message. Remember the little text box you had before for the commit message? So git commit -m space, and then in quotes, or single quotes or double, I don't think it matters, put in your commit message. So I'm going to say added CSS file. Okay. Added CSS file. That's going to be my commit message. Okay. And now I've staged my changes and I've committed them. Git commit -m. And I think git status will now no longer show that. So if you do git status again, it won't show any changes because you've already added them and you've already committed them. So now you've committed it, you're ready to push. But let's say you're working on something big. It is a very good habit to commit often. So I might say added CSS file. I might say added buttons, styled buttons. I might have multiple commit messages so that I can keep track of the work I've been doing, and I don't have just one commit with like 50 changes, and like it's very disorganized because when I look through a repository, I should be able to see a list of commits that shows me exactly what each commit was. What change did it bring to the repository? Okay, so we've committed, and now we're going to do git push. Okay, and this is where I will revisit a question I was asked earlier. What's the difference between a local branch and a remote branch? So the major difference is right now, this branch here, update page, or whatever you called it, this branch only exists on my laptop. If I go back to github.com, and let's say I refresh the page, it's not going to show up here in branches. It has that first branch from when we were playing around on the website, but it will not have update page, right? Because update page only exists as a as a local branch, local to my computer, right? Yeah, it only exists as a local branch. So you want to push this local branch up to GitHub. You want to have this available on the website. And the way you do that is you do git push. That's it, git push. And when you do that, you'll see an error that says the current branch, so update page, has no upstream branch. So there's nothing on GitHub that matches update page, right? We showed you that it doesn't exist. It only exists locally. So in order to fix that, you copy this command here, git push, and then you do set upstream origin update page. So this will say push my branch, and then moving forward, any changes I make on this branch, make sure it connects or it's connected / related to the remote branch, which is also called update page. Okay, so just copy, paste that. And there you go. It's compressing. Oops. Why do I have an error? Oh, no, I don't have an error. I'm good. My bad. I thought I had an error, but I don't. Yeah, so it's been pushed, and now you can see you have a message here, create pull request for update page. Okay, so now you can go to this URL and create a new pull request the way we did earlier. But I won't go over that because we've already done that. Okay, and now it says this branch update page is now tracking the remote branch, right, on github.com called update page. And origin just is talking about the name of the remote. So I might have, when you work in an internship or whatever, you might have different remotes. So you might have like a development server and a production server. And in that case, you would have different remotes, but I guess you will not need to worry about that right now. For you guys, it'll always be origin. Okay. So once again, from the top, when you are first starting out, you do git clone followed by your git URL, right? Not the regular URL, the git URL. Then you cd or you change into your directory, and then you can do git status, right? Or sorry, not git status, ls to look at your files, right? Now I have this new index.css. Open up your code editor, make your changes, and save your file, right? So just whatever command S, save it. And then you do git status to, let me just put one more change, Wayne F. And now if I do git status, I can now see what my changes are. I can add my changes using git add. And let's say I want to add all the changes I've made in this folder. So in this ls folder, in this repository, I can do git add dot. Dot means this directory. Okay, so git add dot. And if I do git status again, it'll tell me I have this change, but I haven't committed it yet, right? Like before, I need a commit message. So make your change, save it, stage it by using git add or git add dot, and commit it. And once you commit it, you can push it. And you should only need to do, remember the command we copied here, git push set upstream origin? You only need to copy that the first time because your branch doesn't exist. But let's say I keep working and I keep pushing commits from this branch. Since it already exists upstream, I don't need to set my upstream because it already exists. I can just do git push. Okay. And here, update page recently pushed less than a minute ago. I'm just gonna merge my code really quick to show you the last command that you'll need to know. So added CSS file, looks like my thing's able to merge. I'm just gonna create the pull request. And normally someone else would be reviewing this, but since I created everything and it's just a demo, it's not too big of a deal. And I'm gonna click merge pull request.
Hold up.
So yeah.
Apparently, the stream went down for a second. Just give everyone a second.
Oh, sure.
What the hell? Still says live for me.
Wait, why is the stream down?
I don't know. Streamlabs still says it's still streaming, so.
Guys, just refresh your page. It's so odd.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it just crashed for a couple seconds there, but just give people a couple seconds to refresh the page.
Yeah, just refresh the page, guys. Okay. Okay. Cool. Works. Okay. So yeah, I was saying I I go to my pull requests, and I created a pull request because I just pushed my branch, right? And I'm merging one commit, right, from update page into master, right? And we already know the files that are changed. The two files was adding the index and adding the CSS file and updating my name. So I'm going to click merge, and I will confirm this merge. Okay, so confirm merge. And now, if I want, since I'm done with this branch, I can safely delete it, right? But let's go back to code. Okay, and now my master branch, remember the final pristine copy, now has this index.css file that I just created. And if I go into index.html, it should say Wayne and Java. Okay, and the difference now is that your remote branch master has this update, but let's say I switch here to my local master branch. So git checkout master, remember? That's how we change branches. Oops. Let me just, oh yeah, so one more quick thing, whoops. One more quick thing, let's say I staged a change, but I don't want it anymore. I can just do git reset, okay? And this unstages them. Okay, so I'm just gonna unstage the change. Let's take that part out. Git status. Okay, cool. So nothing to commit, your working tree is clean. So I'm gonna switch to git. So I'm gonna switch to master by doing git checkout master. Okay, and now if I go here, my master branch looks like this, right? It's my old one. This was made by, right? You can see there's no CSS file. My favorite programming language, it's blank. So in order to get this version, we need one more command. I think you guys know what it is. We already pushed, so now we pull. Okay, so you do git pull, and it will pull all the changes from your remote master branch. So it'll say, hey, you added an index CSS file and you made some changes in the HTML. And now when I go back to my editor, I can see that, yep, just as expected, it's there. Okay, so use git pull to pull changes from GitHub and git push to push changes that you've made up to GitHub.
Someone asked earlier, can you guys, can you do a pull request from the command line?
I think you can, but actually, wait. From what I know, I've always done pull requests from the website
Honestly,
because
you
it's
can, but there's really no point because it's so much easier just to do it on the GitHub website.
the website. Yeah, because when you do it from command line, it's just a lot more challenging, I guess, and it's easier to do those reviews, like I said, make comments, point out specific lines, things like that. And I believe when you push your code, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, when you push your code, GitHub will tell you, it'll provide you a link. So you can just copy this link. It's an old one, but yeah, you'd be able to go directly to the pull request page there. Yeah, so one last time, and hope you guys aren't sick of hearing it, git clone, right? To get a copy of that repository. Git, oh, so first you change directory. So go into the new folder that you cloned. Make sure you're not on master because by default, when you clone, you're going to be on the master branch. So git checkout, right? -B for a new branch. So create your new branch. And now that you've created your new branch, you can officially start working, start coding. Once you've made your changes, you've added your new homepage, you've added some new styles to the game character that you've been developing. You can now save your files and then stage your changes by doing git add, right? And after your changes have been added, you can now go ahead and commit them, right? You're committing and finalizing these changes. And after committing, that's when you can push your changes up. Oh yeah, remember to put a descriptive commit name. I think something that I didn't get in trouble for this, but someone else got in trouble at my work was that when they made their commits, their commit names, their commit messages were they were useless. Like they would put a commit message that said literally like ABC 1 2 3, lots of changes. That doesn't tell the team anything, right? So make sure your commit messages are very descriptive of what you're doing.
Someone asked, what are the benefits of using Git Bash compared to just doing all the steps on GitHub?
Uh, because when you are doing it on GitHub, you would be committing one file at a time, and you would want to have a commit representing a distinct change, not just in one file, but something that's more significant. So maybe if I wanted to add a button, I would add the button in an HTML file, but I also want to style it. So I'd have changes and styles in a CSS file. Or maybe I would want this button to do something specific. So I'd have functions pertaining to that in a JavaScript file. So if I did this on github.com, first of all, I wouldn't be able to test this, right? You're doing a lot of the testing locally. And secondly, I would have to go to the edit button for individual files and then do commit, commit, commit for my HTML, CSS, and JavaScript file, right? Uh, but when I do it locally, or not locally, on my terminal, I can do git add HTML because I've created my button, git add index.css. I've finished my styling. My button looks great. And git add my JS file.
To be
Okay.
honest, it's just way faster. Trust us.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot more convenient just doing it in terminal than going onto GitHub and just like doing it manually over and over again and like switching back and forth. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Also, like when you get to the workplace, they want you to know how to use Git. So,
Yeah, you should know this like inside out.
And like some places are okay with you using GitHub Desktop, but GitHub Desktop is like it can be extremely buggy. I've used it in the past and it's like not great. There's
Hmm.
a lot of issues with it. There's a lot of delay, stuff like that. You just generally you don't want to really use GitHub Desktop too much.
Are there any questions? I know we shot a little bit over, but are there any questions? Anything you want me to re-clarify?
Or
If
yeah,
not, so yeah, Brendan, go
no,
ahead.
no, no, go.
Oh yeah, so if there aren't any questions, thank you everyone for tuning in. Follow me on GitHub, and I look forward to seeing the projects that you work on.
If anyone does have questions, feel free to stay behind and we'll answer it in chat. For
Hmm.
now, we'll be signing off. The VOD,
Thanks for joining.
the VOD will be is auto saved onto our Twitch account at Ryerson CSCU. It's usually there for 14 days, but I'll try to get it to stay longer. I will try to download it and send it to the Ryerson Developer Student Club, and they'll decide if they post it on their YouTube or not. But yeah, for now, we'll be ending this stream. So, yeah.
Thanks everyone.